Hello. Hello. Welcome to San Miguel TV, where we give it to you live and real. What is good, y'all? Let me put a few filters on. Make sure it's all messages showing. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. We're going to get it started on this beautiful Sunday night. It is Sunday, December the 21st. We got a few things going on in our beautiful country's capital. So we're gonna talk about it, man. I'll give it a minute for everybody to come through. But yeah, welcome. San Miguel TV's in the house. We're gonna be talking about a few things this beautiful Sunday evening. You know, as crime keeps on slipping into the future. And the DC crime statistics are slipping, but not for the reasons why you would expect or you would think, oh, things are getting better in DC. They might be slightly decreasing. You know, you might get a slight increase, which is actually what showed there was a slight increase, but I don't know. I just want to talk about all these things because I'm constantly getting into conversations with people about how bad crime is in certain communities. People love to talk about what white people are doing all the time. And I did my fair share of that over the years. We could go into history and complain, the white man this and the white man that. But the fact remains, in the United States of America right now, community and Native American communities, there are more centralized crimes going on there. That's what we're going to talk about. For people that think that crime is skewed in certain directions to show, they're trying to show it's black people are more violent, when actually what we have going on in DC is that the crime statistics were being skewed to show that there was less crime going on. And this is the opposite of what you constantly hear people complaining about when the statistics come out. DC was known as Chocolate City for so long. What's good? What's good, Alan Weeks? I see you. It used to be, yeah, it's bedtime. I know it's late. My bad. You know, I was editing videos earlier and making sure the family was straight. The Christmas gifts are there. Merry Christmas, everybody. It is that Christmas week. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for those coming through and liking my content. San Miguel TV has been around for 7 years, and I'm gonna keep being around as long as I want to. But yeah, welcome. It's Sunday, December 21st, 2025. What up, Nego? Not. What is good? Thanks everybody for coming through. We're 5 minutes in. You know, I just posted a video on the shorts about the DC crime stats, and the chief of police of District of Columbia, capital of this country, wants to make pretend that the city is safer than it actually is, to give the impression that she's doing a great job when all they did was declassify or reclassify certain laws to be less violent than they really are. So that's not really crime going down. That's just people changing the categories of how certain crimes will be categorized. If pulling out a gun on somebody is not an assault, then then we're talking two different things. I don't know. Happy birthday. Welcome. It's a beautiful Sunday evening. I'm in my favorite secret spot. Go Mets. What up, Mayan? I do this so not to disturb the kids while they're sleeping, because I get loud on the live. I'm a loud talker. I have to be so you can hear me. Shit, turn the volume down if it's too loud. Let me turn the volume up. Let me make sure everything's coming through clear. I don't plan on going live for more than an hour. I find it funny that every time I get into conversations with people like Hebrew Israelites, because I used to be a Hebrew Israelite. I used to be racist. I used to say the white man's the devil on a loudspeaker on the corners of the streets of Orlando and Jacksonville and Miami and Tampa. And we would constantly bring up things that are being done or that were done in the past, just mad at history. The white man created slavery. Meanwhile, you can go, back to the time of, you name it, and people have been owning other people's property since the beginning of goddamn time, Since anybody can start writing and documenting history, you've heard about people being owned as slaves. So to complain about it, and America's this, America that, yeah, I get it. Reparations weren't paid. Some people are pissed off. But at least you live in a country where the black community as a whole has more spending power than certain countries in the Middle East. Many countries, all countries in Africa. There's only about 15 countries that have more spending power than the black community combined. And that's power. You constantly hear black people can't be racist. Black people can't be racist. That right there is another video. I mean, I've already done a video on that. I got to do more videos on that. We could jump on that topic in this live stream because it actually ties into what the mayor of DC was doing, or not the mayor, but the chief of police. But you got chief of police of DC that's now resigned, was a black woman with power. She had enough power to where she was able to skew the numbers to show that it's not that bad in DC. It's actually so much better, because she was able to classify a certain crime, a violent crime, and bring it down to like a misdemeanor or a non-violent crime, pretty much. Pulling out a gun, and as long as you don't shoot it, then you're non-violent. But if you pull out a gun on somebody, in most of the states here in this country, that is considered an assault. I hope you know that. Just pulling out a gun and showing it like you're gonna do something. That's menacing. That's a threat. Dr. Thomas Sowell agrees with you. Oh, I hope so. That man is still kicking somewhere. And he's not getting the flowers that he deserves from the black community. Everybody's looking at damn Jasmine Crockett and all that. And that type of, the person that talks like that, like these type of narratives that are being pushed, this woke agenda that's destroying this country. It's destroying cities that were getting better. Now you're starting to see them crumbling because 2020 came around and George Floyd was the patron saint, was murdered by Derek Chauvin. And even though justice was served, it's not good enough. And we need to abolish the police, as they say. And I don't agree with any of this crap. And I don't agree with everything cops do. I actually think that some cities have too high of a budget and not enough crime to deal with, for cops to have to deal with. Too many cops that have to deal with a little bit of crime. It doesn't make sense. Now they go looking for crime, creating, things that are not even a crime. That's a problem too. But it's a bigger problem where you have cities that need more funding and need more cops, and you got people in power that want to take that funding away, disabling and crippling the police departments, and therefore enabling criminals to run rampant. Let's talk about these things, my people. Welcome to San Miguel TV. Sunday, December 21st. It's a beautiful day. We got 4 more days till Christmas. 3 more days, pretty much. We're right there. I want to thank y'all for coming through. Everybody that supports me. Maya Stevenson, you're the man. Hans Gruber, 1988. California spent $135 billion on no train. They told voters $33 billion and they would get a train from San Diego to Sacramento. Today, 132-mile track, 135 spent criminal. And what about the homelessness in California? How much money did they put into homelessness? Gavin Newsom, which is looking like he's going to be the new candidate for the Democratic Party for the 2028 presidency. It's probably going to be Gavin Newsom, I'm telling you right now. It's not going to be Jasmine Crockett or AOC. Y'all living in a dream. They have very low appeal and voter poll, just so y'all know. It's probably going to be Gavin Newsom, and he might even become the president. But look at the job that he did in California and that job that he's doing. Right now, San Francisco is a blackout in San Francisco. I don't know if they fixed it yet, but definitely Friday night, going into Saturday, and as far as I looked into it this morning, they have no power in major parts of California, of San Francisco. What's that about? I believe California is the highest grossing state in the United States. They have a lot of money to spend. Where the hell is this money going to help the people in California? Trump already announced he was going to make housing for veterans, just like homeless veterans. They want to help the criminals that are homeless. What about the veterans? How about they come first? They need a lot of help, and a lot of times they get deserted by their own country that they vowed to serve. That's not right. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree. I love Die Hard. I love planes, trains, and automobiles. I love that movie. That's like a Thanksgiving movie. But, it still works. Love that movie. Love it. Die Hard 3 with a vengeance. That's the one right there, baby. Yippee-ki-yay, mother. Listen, I voted for Trump. I agree with 90% of the things that Trump is doing since he's been in office. It hasn't even been a year. It's the second term. It's minimal things. I can't even remember some of the things I was disagreeing on. Maybe the Qatar airport thing. What was it, the Qatar airport in Michigan or something? I forgot what state. It's just, listen, man. The people come first. What up, Andy, man? Everybody. I'm going back to the mental hospital. No. Never been. But if shit keeps going the way it's going, it's like a psyop out here. We're being told everything's all right. There is no crime in D.C. D.C. is pretty much Utah. It's pretty much, the nicest city and the safest city in the United States. You got drugs all around, homelessness. You got people getting jumped for saying that they're conservative. You can't preach the Bible out in certain streets and, exercise your freedom of speech because people's feelings might get hurt, and that's against the law. The dude who championed HHH was arrested along with 4 of the Democrats, Jose Huzar, fraud and corruption. They were all in the city council in Los Angeles. I see Alfalfa 420 talking some stuff. EMPs. Yeah, but a study in 2022 came out and said that 90 to 96% of the homicide victims and suspects were black. Ouch. It's okay to be white. What's up, Cooked Sand? Welcome. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be conservative. Liberalism is a mental disorder. I'm seeing what's going on in Canada, man. I like to watch a lot of the First Amendment auditors walking around Canada, Toronto. Man, that might be coming. That's already in a city near you, man. It's kind of crazy, the things that people complain about, the things that people don't understand, their laws, the First Amendment rights to speak in public, preach, film in public, film people in public, regardless of how the hell they feel. Get a mask. But yeah, man. 40% of the population in DC commit 95% of the crime, 90% of the of the homicides. That's crazy. And then the violent crime numbers can't even be trusted because they've been skewed, and you don't know what to say now. Thought crimes exist in communism. That's right. Truth and transparency. Yeah, I like True North transparency. That's a good one. 70% of blacks are divorced too. Well, I believe it's 70% of the children born into black houses and black families, black households are unmarried. I think that's what the number shows. People not marrying at all right now, but especially in the black community, the number has gone up for non-marriages. It's gone up all throughout, this whole country. People not getting married, people not settling. At least they're not doing it on paper, which is the right way to do it in order to protect certain rights. And you get certain benefits that protect your family when you put it down on paper that you're married. Now your wife and your children have rights to, well, your children already have rights, but your wife, your spouse is going to have some rights to any inheritance or, things like that. It's pretty important to have all of that on paper. A lot of Americans complain about life in the USA, but try to move to the socialist nightmare. That's Canada. That's true. There's people threatening to move to Canada, and people have moved to Canada since Trump came back into office. Ridiculous. You know, some people moved to Africa. There was a woman that left. She left her businesses and everything in the United States and moved to Nigeria, I believe. And she started complaining about how life is horrible in Africa, man. It's just, we ain't got no snacks. We ain't got no AC. There's animals crawling up in the crib. We got lizards in the bed. Like, come on, man. That's what you want? You know, they think the grass is greener on the other side till they go to the other side. And now they want to come back. Costa Rica seems pretty nice, yeah. Costa Rica is actually a very, very beautiful country, and they got their shit together. You know, the problem was coming from the neighboring countries like El Salvador, Guatemala. Even though it's a little far away, it's not that, it's all Central America, but you know, El Salvador seems to be under control now with their current president. I forget his name, but he's not playing around with these criminals, man. Ben Shapiro said, do 3 things. Kirk said it's the same thing, too. Graduate high school, get a job, and get married. Man. And don't do crimes. Don't join gangs. Stop hanging out with immature-ass people that have nothing better to do with their lives. You know, they want to click up and they find some comfort in numbers, you know, with their friends. And then before you know it, their friends is getting them arrested, or they're getting arrested with their friends because their friend created, you know, a disturbance or something, and then they want to ride with their gang. There's a lot of cliques in these different communities, man. These different liberal cities where you see the majority of the crime comes from certain cliques and groups that it'll be like 500 people creating doing most of the homicides and shootings. That's what's happening in D.C. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is the man. Was the man. Rest in peace. The difference between Charlie Kirk and MLK is that Charlie Kirk wasn't doing orgies in hotels with prostitutes like MLK was. Oh, I said it. I done said it. But, you know, we don't want to get separated because of ideology. Let's try to educate and talk and keep the conversations open. That's what Charlie Kirk always said. The moment we stop talking, we're going to start fighting, shooting. And that's exactly what happened. People couldn't deal with the conversations being had. So they're like, well, this guy got to go. Let people have their freedom of speech, you know, and that's it. I personally blame the decrease of marriages to the third wave feminism and state-instituted oppression of men. These women want a good man until a good man actually pulls up. That's true. These women want street dudes with tattoos on their necks and, you know, with that don't want to settle down. They want to be out, you know, sleeping with a bunch of women, but the women are crazy as hell too. Yeah, I'm gonna quote Charlie Kirk. People get mad as hell. Dave Chappelle said something about Charlie Kirk. He said the only similarity between MLK and Charlie Kirk is that they both got shot in the neck. Dave Chappelle is still woke as hell. A lot of ignorance in these liberal communities. DC is a perfect example, which is actually where Dave Chappelle is from. Dave Chappelle should focus on DC, what's going on over there with his people. I know he donates a lot of money to his former high school and all of that stuff. People want to live inside thought bubbles and echo chambers. That's true. George Floyd. Yes, Dave Chappelle is from DC. Listen, when I talk with the confidence, you hear the confidence I'm talking? It's because I know this stuff already, man. I've already looked this up. Dave Chappelle's from DC, man. Chocolate City. Where's Dave Chappelle from? Tell me. Nah, I know not all women want that, but you know, I'm talking about these new age women right now. The TikTok feminism, this third wave feminism is really, really destructive for real. It's yeah, you see it, man. They run. Hold on. They want to run the men. They want to run the households, and sometimes these men leave it up to the women to, do these things. It's so there's a lot of the fault goes right to the men. Sharia law, get out of here. Sharia law is the last thing we need up in here. Look what's happening in Michigan. Forget the town in Michigan where it's just nothing but, it's like 70% Muslim. The Muslim community, for the most part, could be non-violent. But when you want to push for Sharia law, then you're showing your true colors, and you're showing that you don't like freedom of speech, especially coming from a woman. That's what Sharia law would institute that a woman's testimony is half of a man's testimony, and that's what Islam, that's right in the Quran. You read the Hadith, it's all in there, and there's no and the Bible doesn't have an age of consent either. But damn, Islam is really like, they just out there, they don't give a damn. Their own prophet married a 6-year-old and consummated the marriage when she was 9. It's all true. What's crazy about Sharia law? Yeah, man. Following religion could lead to disaster. There's a very thin line between a religion and a cult. Not always a disaster, but because there's some churches that follow religion, and it's a system, it's an institution that it could do good. It could do good. There's a great church right down the road from me. They do good. They come knocking at my door sometimes and offer me things. It's crazy. They're nice people. They got programs for the community, for the kids, keeping kids out the streets. And all of that, I think, is a positive thing that religion could institute and does institute. But then sometimes along with that comes a lot of cultish behavior and a mind state of, us versus them. It could cause a lot of unwarranted fear. You see that a lot with religion. They put fear in you to come into the church. But there's such thing as healthy fear and good fear. There could be some good things that come with that fear that's going to keep you away. Just like you scared to touch fire, that's a good thing. You don't want to be touching fire. I don't know. Some people might like that, some pyros. But there's healthy fear, okay? But, we could talk about all that religious stuff. I'm fascinated by this crime statistics stuff, this skewing the numbers to show as if, this shit is safe in DC. It's safer than we expected. Yeah, that's because they're skewing the numbers. It's a fact. The winter solstice. Well, some people say, I don't know. I gotta talk to some of my Christian friends out here that they say Christmas is not a pagan religion, and it was instituted by Christians. But it's not in the Bible. I know that. And it's very commercialized, and people spend a lot of money. But, let people do what they want to do. It's a good celebration. I think it's healthy. I'm not really into all that religious stuff where I think that holidays are pagan, and I mean everything is created by man. There's religions. There's high holy days like Purim and Hanukkah that you don't find in the Torah, but was instituted later on by men. Hanukkah was instituted during the Maccabean revolt, when the Greeks were pretty much in power after Alexander the Greek fell out of power and left his kingdoms to his 4 generals. Then you saw during that time, you started hearing that's where the history of Hanukkah comes from, the dedication to the temple, the rebuilding of the temple. So everybody's celebrating Hanukkah. I believe we're still no, Hanukkah started on the 14th, so Hanukkah should be done by tomorrow or tonight. I think it's the last day. Do you know why the Amish girl got excommunicated? No, I don't know. Yeah, men definitely dilute religion for control. The trees talk, they don't move, though evergreen tree is good for respiratory. That's right, and evergreen trees represent strength and resilience. Them trees make it through the coldest winter, just covered in snow, and they don't die. The evergreen tree is beautiful. Even though I'll probably go up to my crib in a minute at the end of this live stream and show you my fake tree. I don't got an evergreen tree. I got a fake tree. I don't know if Christmas came from Christ, because I don't believe Jesus Christ was born on December 25th. And I know a lot of Christians don't really believe that. But some Christians do believe that. A good amount of Christians believe that. You think I'm cool? Here, let's put this away. I don't want to try to make it seem like I'm cool. Yeah, he was probably born during the time of the Passover. I believe that for sure. Jesus Christ turned 12 around that time. So we can assume that during the month of Abib, Jesus Christ was born, the first month of the year in the Jewish calendar. But yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. I'm in the bushes here, man, hiding out. This is my secret spot right here where I could be loud and my kids could sleep in peace, even though they don't have school tomorrow. I don't want to be up in the crib live streaming right now. It's too late. It's kind of hot, actually. Take this off. Keep that right there. It's December 21, Sunday, 10:44 p.m. Eastern time, and it's like a nice little 68 degrees in Orlando, Florida. Welcome. Yeah, I do think Jesus was born around the time of Easter, Passover, and all that good stuff. I don't think Easter was around during the time of Jesus, right? I don't know when Easter became a thing. Pesach, I think they call it. I think that was instituted after Jesus Christ died, because it represents his resurrection and all of that. So obviously that's a fact. But I don't really celebrate Easter. I do celebrate Christmas and the New Year and all those pagan holidays, I guess, man. I'm sorry if you want to call it pagan. I don't worship trees. I don't worship the sun. There's a lot of meaning behind the seasons changing, and I think that's what people realize, and they wanted to mark those days as important, so they have feast days and celebration days in commemoration of those things, right? And that's okay, right? I don't know. I guess Easter is pagan, it would be considered pagan to the Jews, to the Israelites. Yeah, but what can we do? If Ashtar, the goddess of Easter, is that the goddess with a bunch of breasts? Right? The Babylonian, I don't know what kind of goddess she was, but yeah, that's the goddess that had like 50 titties on her. Interesting stuff. But yeah, man. What's up, Kenny? Welcome. Sherry Parker, welcome. Yeah, I'm not here to condemn any celebrations of these days. I think it's all good. I think we all can coexist and respect these different days, because I think what's more important is that we don't attack each other. We can criticize. There's nothing wrong with criticizing people's. People got the right to state your opinions, just like other people have the right to state their opinions. You can counteract and respond to that however the hell you want, except when you start laying your hands on people, or you're trying to take away people's rights to believe in whatever they want to believe, and to, because I see this all the time. People want to preach, and I see Hebrew Israelites out in the streets preaching, and I challenge them. So there's nothing wrong with a little challenging. Let's see where you are with your belief. How strong are you in your faith? If you start using the scriptures, if you believe in the scriptures, and hey, maybe you should go by what the scriptures say. That's all I'm saying. I want to be born again through a woman, not that. I saw a Curb Your Enthusiasm show, episode, where it was a scene where Larry David, who's an atheist Jew, or a secular Jew, I don't know. He was saying, worshiping a man. He was like, that's kind of, isn't that a little gay? You worshiping a man. He's like, if God was a woman, he's like, I'll worship her. He's like, come on, it's a woman. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's probably funny. He's like, I'll worship that any day over a God. He's like, yeah, if God had a daughter named Jane, yeah, I'll worship Jane. Funny stuff. I believe in science. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah Shar. Merry Christmas. We got it all up in here. The real Bible is the Ethiopian Bible, the truth, the Old Testament. I don't know about that. I do not know about that Ethiopian Bible. I believe it says in the Ethiopian Bible that Ethiopians are sunburnt Jews. But there's somebody that I have a pretty, we speak on Facebook. It's a Facebook group with Jews versus Hebrew Israelites. They go back and forth all the time. His name is Mario. I don't know if that's you, Mario, but Mario definitely be preaching that Ethiopian Bible. I guess it's something I got to dive into a little bit more, because I really don't know anything about the Ethiopian Bible. But yeah, more power to you, man. Rastafari. Good Ramadan, Mubarak. Man, we got it all. On King David. Somebody said on King David. I love that shit. This history is facts. Google it. All right, I will, man. I will, for sure. I know people are brainwashed, man. Trust me. I know Jesus Christ wasn't no white man with blonde hair and blue eyes, and I do believe that Jesus Christ existed. Um, that's the man named Jesus Christ, who started a big following. History shows you that even after his death, people were writing about the followers and how they follow a crucified Messiah and all that stuff. And but did he walk on water and heal people and resurrect from the dead and all of that? It's like is yet to be proven. And at this point, I'm open to learn. But because any new information is popping up all the time, confirming certain things in the Bible. There's a lot of unconfirmed things in the scriptures, Old Testament, New Testament, which is where I remain unconvinced. And that's that. I think Jesus did miracles, including mythology. Yeah, I think outside of the miracles and supernatural stuff, I could believe that. Why? I mean, I have no reason not to believe that. Like, you tell me you got a pet dog, I'm gonna be like, okay, I don't have any reason to believe that you don't have a pet dog. I mean, if that sounds legit, I can't prove it and you haven't proven it yet, but okay, I'm gonna take you at your word that you have a pet dog. If somebody comes up to me and says that they own a pet dragon, that's kind of like making a claim that, a man died and then resurrected and was born of a virgin, which means that his parents didn't have sexual intercourse. It wasn't a normal birth and all of that. It's like, okay, now you're going to have to show me some good evidence for that. That's just what I'm saying. You can be a Mets fan and a Christian. I know, those two things can coexist. They're not mutually exclusive. People didn't African interbreeding with Neanderthals to start the world is facts. People say it's fake, but there's facts. Amen. Machine. I'm just trying to read these comments. The Bible is not mythology. So you are saying you have to see to believe. No, I don't have to see it to believe it. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. There has to be good evidence. It doesn't hurt if I can see God. If there's a God and I can see him, then I'm like, okay, there's a God, but now we have to create arguments and it's all just basic arguments for why something exists. It would help if I could see it, but we can't see the wind, but we know the wind exists because we can measure it. So as long as we can measure or somehow prove that, these things exist, that these things happen, especially when we're talking about supernatural things that don't happen all the time, supernatural occurrences. You're not telling me that you have a pet dog. You're telling me you have a pet dragon. Now I'm going to need some evidence for that. A fire-breathing pet dragon. I'm not going to believe that if like I believe somebody telling me they have a pet dog. I'm still, proof helps, of course. But that's not such a crazy-ass claim. But if you're claiming that Jesus Christ died for you, whatever that means, like, what does that even mean? That somebody died in place of you. I believe in people owning up to their own responsibilities and their own actions and, take accountability for their own actions, pretty much. So I wouldn't want nobody to take any responsibility for something that I did. I would want to take responsibility for my own actions. I think that's only right. And even the Bible tells you that the Son shall not pay for the sins of the Father, neither shall the Father pay for the sins of the Son. That's Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16. But, the entire belief of Jesus, the main thing that's important to Christians is that Jesus Christ died for us to repent and get to Jesus. So it's a beautiful story. It's a lovely story, I think, except for the crucifixion and murdering and a damn crazy thing that Jesus, allegedly went through. That's horrible, but that's all supposed to be part of God's plan. So you know, besides all of that gore, I can dig it, but I don't know. I don't know. Bro got like 40 names. You see virgin births every day on TV. All these women having babies without daddies. Yo, y'all are funny, man. Keep it coming. Hybrids, plural on both sides of the spectrum. Balanced bridge, bananas, same clay, different dominions. Jesus is God. That's what I heard. Jesus is the Yahweh. The Tetragrammaton is supposed to be the name of Jesus, the creator, that is uncreated, that had no creator. Even though he has a father, the father didn't create him per se. That's what some people say. Let's blame Trump and his cabinet. Thinking the Bible is true because it says so is circular reasoning. You need evidence outside of the Bible to confirm what it says is true. Yeah, and I've come across stories that are in the Bible that have actually been shown that it didn't happen, or at least it's not written in other stories that should corroborate. Like there's a story of King Jehu, who existed, who was a real king, who was under the Assyrian Empire and was paying tribute to Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria. And then supposedly, when they invaded to come to Judea, they already sacked Samaria. They already took the northern part of Israel, Assyria. Then they wanted to conquer Judea, and they did. There's evidence of King Jehu paying tribute. He was under a payment plan to the king of Assyria. But there's a story there in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 19 and 20, that tells you that supposedly angels came down and fought against the Assyrian armies. And that right there is not written in the obelisk. Sennacherib. It was Sennacherib was the king at the time. Sennacherib's prism or obelisk doesn't contain that part of the story. It contains that they were conquered, and then the king of Judah or Judea had to pay tribute to him. So what the hell did the angels do in that battle? What was the significance of that? Because obviously they still lost the war, even if they won a little battle where some angels came and fought. It doesn't make sense to me. That's the story of Sennacherib, coming to conquer the land of Judea. I always bring that story up because it's the one clear story that you can read. One story outside of the Bible, and you can read the story in the Bible, and they don't completely match. Even the story in the Bible doesn't make sense. Because if the angels came and fought for Israel, why did they lose the war? But why do they just want to come and win a certain little battle? It makes no sense. But yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, I don't have no problem with people believing in these things, but let's look at the evidence. Let's actually think logically and critically about what we know, and be honest about what we don't know. There's a lot that we don't know. Let's be honest about that. King Hezekiah. Yeah, there you go. My bad. Was it King Hezekiah? I thought it was King Jehud. It's King Hezekiah, but Sennacherib thought he was a god. It was confirmed his 2 sons murdered him. These prideful men don't like to mention their defeats. No, it's true. That happened. That he was murdered by at least one of his sons. I don't know if it was 2. It could be 2. That's written in the book in the obelisk, which is Sennacherib's prism. And then it's written in the Bible too. But there's things that the Bible that already happened that the Bible's just writing, and I think that it's making you think, or making people think, that it's a prophecy. Sennacherib is going to be killed by his sons, but it actually just tells you that his sons killed him, and then that was supposedly some type of victory, that God got them back for doing something. And it's like, this is all just part of some of the crazy inter-family wars that was going on, that always go on in these royal kingdoms, royal families. Somebody wants to be the next king, and then they kill their father. It has nothing to do. I don't see any divine intervention in there. It's just, that just happens. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. War is the last resort, and Father is displeased in the division from the beginning. We're just training in non-clay forms. Yeah. Samson did miracles. Yeah. Samson was supposedly super strong because of his hair. And I believe Samson, what does Samson mean? Something about the sun, right? I forget what Samson means, but yeah. No, was Jesus son of God? No. Yeah. But, it's been 50 minutes. My battery life is actually pretty good compared to how it usually goes. I made sure I charged it up to 90. Yeah, the Assyrian records confirmed his son dying. His cylinder actually did mention that Hezekiah didn't even fight. Then it trails off and changes subjects. Check the cylinders. No, it did. It didn't mention that angels came and fought. That would be something that you would think would be mentioned in a story that somebody's telling, that angels, supernatural forces came and defeated my men. I would have written that down in the prism. That would have been like, there's nothing in history that shows that. And that was to me, that was one of the eye openers to show that not everything in the Bible is 100% factual. And there's a lot of things, like I said, that's unconfirmed, that's unproven. So I'm unconvinced about a lot of things. But that's the thing, DJ Saucy, is it wasn't a humiliating defeat. It was actually a victory. They were getting paid tribute by Hezekiah and Jehu. They were paying off. Judah was under Assyria. So how is it a defeat? It's still something that would be mentioned. If they were defeated, okay. But it would be mentioned that something amazing happened. You don't think that would be, warrant a mention in a story? I would think that somebody will write, an amazing thing that they never saw happen before, man. Like, supernatural forces came down and killed my men. That would make more sense than, some weak empire like the kingdom of Judah or Judea defeated my men. It would, like, I would want to write, like, no, it took some supernatural forces to defeat us. We should never mess around with the people of Israel ever again. That should be a warning to any future generations. You would think that these men would write that, just like with Egypt. They should write something that says we should never mess around with these Israelites again, because they got some supernatural, powers and stuff. And that never happens. So I don't know. They took all the land around Judah, but failed when they got to Jerusalem. Hezekiah did pay tribute, but Sennacherib betrayed them. They lost their entire army, and the people saw Sen as weak. Sennacherib. Good history. Real history that you can find in the Bible, at least. Real characters that existed. So you got some true people, figures in history that existed, that the Bible mentions. Kingdoms that existed that the Bible mentions. But then there's a lot of missing stuff that, we got to go outside of the Bible to find. If the Father calls Jesus God, then he is God. And the Bible does call Jesus God in the book of John. Colossians, I believe, tells you that everything was created by him, and nothing exists that wasn't created by him. Nothing that was created, was not created by him. So that goes to show you right there, Jesus Christ was not created. I believe the Bible at least tells you that. I mean, we know, I'm just going by what the scriptures say. But yeah, what can we do, man? I mean, that's another thing where you said you're using a Roman bastardization, but God must have known that languages die out and that his word would have to be preserved. And nobody speaks those languages anymore that was spoken about, what was spoken during the time of Hezekiah. Even modern Greek is not like the ancient Greek. No, I'm not saying it's true because it's the New Testament. I'm saying that if you believe in the New Testament, then you should believe that it does say Jesus Christ is God, pretty much. I don't know if you're talking to me, but I don't believe in these a lot of these stories. I don't believe in a lot of these stories. I don't consider myself a Christian. I wish I was a Christian. I wish I had that type of faith. A lot of these Christians seem very happy. They seem to be living peaceful lives for the most part, I think. So they're getting something out of it. One God in three persons. Yep. Yeah, I see you're denying the New Testament, and I could see why some people would do that. If you're reading the Old Testament and you're seeing a certain representation of God, and then here comes the New Testament, and it seems like maybe some things changed. But there's Christians that can point to the Old Testament and say, God already had a son. And I forget the scripture, but there's Christians out here that pull scriptures for everything, man. And maybe I missed something. Question is, what makes a good leader? The only good answer is a man that refuses to tell his followers to do things that he isn't willing to do himself. Ooh, I like that right there. How you gonna be a leader and then you don't do the things that you're telling everybody else to do? I was part of a Hebrew Israelite cult, a religious cult, where that's exactly what the leader was doing. He was having us do a bunch of things that he himself was reluctant to do. And ever since then, I started thinking for myself and being my own leader. And following men is slippery slope. How's everybody doing this evening? It's 11:08 right now. It's December 21st on a Sunday night. I do have work in the morning. Kids are off of school. Wife is at work. And I'm just enjoying this live stream, talking to y'all. I appreciate the company. Mayan Stevenson, you always come through. Nothing but love, my guy. I think me and you are pretty much on the same wavelength. Faith is an infallible method to determine what is true. Yeah, faith doesn't determine what's true. Faith, I think, is a leap. When you don't have any evidence, you have faith because you have maybe a good, I don't know, a strong urge or feeling. But all of that could be created by your belief. Your belief is going to dictate your faith, pretty much, what you want to believe. And I think evidence should dictate your faith. And it's just, some people use the Bible, the scriptures, the word as evidence, and if anything goes against it, they're against that, that piece of evidence or that piece of whatever that goes against what they believe, because people want to protect their belief. For sure. I get it. To say God is one and at the same time three is ridiculous. I get that logic too. Sometimes I think about that and I'm like, I don't get that. I mean, what? Because a family can have three members, but it's still one family. That's what they'll say. Right? But those are still three different people, three different members. So How does that work? When you're trying to say that God is Jesus and is the Holy Spirit and all of that. I guess it can't be understood if you're thinking in a supernatural way, like in a spiritual, like I can't understand that. I've never experienced anything like that. We've never um we've never experienced anything like that. Some people think they experience God. I think that's the mind is so powerful that it'll make you think some things are real when it's not. Yeah, faith I think is a gamble, because Yeshua said not to worship him. How would God have shared love without creation if not triune? Hmm. That's a good logic there, I think. I guess. I don't know. This it sounds good. Like all this shit sounds good. Like sometimes I hear Christians talking, I'm like, this shit sounds so good. I can see why people want to be Christians. But yeah, I know that Bible. I know that Bible. I think I know it to a certain extent where I'm confident in saying that I can't bring myself to say that I know these things are true. I don't know that. That's why I'm agnostic, and I don't believe it, and that's why I'm an atheist. I'm an agnostic atheist, I think, at this point in my life, and those things can change. That can change. Some people change. That's why I keep my options open. I keep my brain functioning, and right now it's not looking like I'm gonna lead to like my belief is not leaning towards any one um, religion, especially not Islam. I'm sorry, Islam. I'm sorry, Muslims. But I don't know about an illiterate warlord, writing down a whole, I don't know. Some people say, nah, his people wrote it. But whatever. Muhammad, all that shit. Sorry, man. That's way, way beyond my reach of faith and understanding. I'm not religious, but I believe in Yahweh and Yeshua. Well, good on you, man. Those things that might bring some light and happiness to your life, and that's good, man. People looking for that, and I'm not gonna hate on people looking for that. And I love debating. I love talking and disputing and just kind of going over these things, man. It sharpens my understanding, and it sharpens, my education on, what I think I know so far. I'm always learning new things. I just learned, um, what some Christians believe about that triune God, and I'm still learning. I'm trying to understand it. Um, but the good old story of the Bible is that God created all humans. He has a chosen people, and then those people messed up. And God always, he still always loved everybody, but he had a chosen people to do his ministry at a certain time. And then now it's, I don't know, all people are God's people. I don't know, but when I read that Old Testament, he had a chosen people, man. He was telling them, go take that land of Canaan, go kill them Amalekites, and all that stuff. So I don't know. That stuff don't sit right with me sometimes when we talk about, um, people's rights. It's like it seems like God was infringing on people's rights. And when people say, well, if sometimes I do want like good evidence. I want God to show Himself. I want God to give me the evidence. Show yourself and show me that you're real. I need that. You did it to Paul. Um, People say that would infringe in your free will, right? So I don't know. Allah is a pagan moon god from Mecca. Yeah, Allah is obviously a pagan. It's obviously you know. I mean, Allah means God. You know, so it's their own version of a God, and it has it's a whole separate meaning now. But I think God, if he was doesn't want to infringe on our free will, then, you know, why would God harden Pharaoh's heart when it came time for him to release the Israelites from Egypt? God said, "No, I'm not going to let him do that," even though he was sending Moses to go tell him to let my people go. At the same time, he would say, "I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart, and he's not going to let your people go. And I'm going to bring forth these plagues so that way people can know my name and know that I'm with the nation of Israel." And that seems very tribal to me. That's just me. A chief deity of a pagan pantheon based in Mecca. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, we're getting some good information up in this chat, baby. I need to get me one of them electric bikes that everybody got. Yeah, why does God choose people, right? I don't know. DJ Saucy. God is a single being with an infinite mind, infinite materiality. That's a hard word to say. Materiality, which is presence, and an infinitely powerful spirit. Thus, three autonomous entities. Infinity cannot be separated. Thus, three autonomous beings in one. DJ Saucy's out here dropping some jewels, baby. You better listen. Pick them up. Allah is a fallen angel. I need a stretch. Yeah. How's everybody doing, man? Thank y'all for coming through again. Give this video a thumbs up while we still live. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got a PayPal. I got a Venmo. If y'all want to support, you know, you could actually support right through here, I believe, through the members, super chat, whatever. I do have a job, okay? So this is something I do on the slide, but it does help. You know, I want to get some more gear for the camera so I can go live. I like to go live in these little, you know, when these have these little events. I would love to crash a protest, maybe a pro-Palestine protest, or an anti-abortion or a pro-abortion protest or whatever. I love the live streaming aspect of all this stuff. You know, that content is like nothing else. Yahweh or Yahweh is a tribalistic warrior storm deity, a mountain god, the god of thunder, right? So Jesus is a cult leader by your logic. Nice. Yeah, I think Jesus was a cult leader. Sorry. Blasphemy. The Dead Sea Scrolls was way before the Bible. Yes. Well, Dead Sea Scrolls is the Bible, is part of the Bible, the Old Testament. It was written by a group of Israelites, extreme Israelites called the Essenes. And it was just found like in 1970 something, right? 1979. The Dead Sea Scrolls in the caves of Qumran. They also call it the Scrolls of Qumran. And I'll try to read some of it, you know, and it's basically the book, some of the book of Jeremiah, some of the book of Isaiah, or most of the book of Isaiah. It's in there. There's some rules and laws that the Essenes had that they wrote in that Scrolls of Qumran. Yeah, from the perspective of the Jews and the Romans, he was a cult leader. Yeah, he man, he started the biggest religion, and the people that proceeded or that succeeded his ministry basically created the biggest religion in the world. So that's pretty amazing. Jesus was gay, ultimately nailed by men. Yeah, I gotta stop this. That's funny stuff, though. If you need a Hebrew translator, I can be your guy. I used to own a Torah. I don't know what happened to my Torah. I think I have it in a storage, but I got it from a group of Jewish people that print the Bible, the Torah, and in Hebrew and English, called lightforisrael.org. And they give you those scriptures for free. I got the Old Testament and New Testament from them. But I was learning fake Hebrew. I was learning Harlem Hebrew. Shalom, Ak, Shabbat Shalom. Happy Hanukkah would be Hanukkah, which means dedication. Hanukkah Shar. Shar means happy, right? I know. Oh, damn, this guy's driving way too fast. I know a little bit of Hebrew. I can read some of the characters and make out a few words when I read them. I know Akkad is one. Shammai, listen or hear. Yasha'Allah is Israel, which means a prince of the power. I know a little bit. Listen, know a little bit. Christ did return, said DJ Saucy. All of history is a lie. We are living under his 1,000-year kingdom. Tartaria, mud flood, land of Jesus. All cultures spoke of a golden city up north. Dark ages are a satanic flip. Yeah, Hedi, that was gibberish Hebrew. I'm sorry. That's what I learned. I don't know. Harmony says, but like I said, people get the wrong notion about being the chosen people. Like I said, being chosen means carrying God's burden. Jews need to abide by more than 400 commandments and are very strict. Yeah, they are. You learned that Prince Hall Mason Hebrew. Pff, man, are we gonna go there with that Mason? Because we know some of the leaders of the Hebrew Israelite movement were Masons. Matthews, Wentworth Matthews, Rabbi Matthews Wentworth or whatever was a Mason. Crowdy, Mr. Crowdy, Saunders, whatever. What was his name? He was the creator. He was one of the first, the first Hebrew Israelite leaders. Saunders, Crowdy, something. I believe he was a Mason too. Knights Templars. Unlike Christianity and Islam, Judaism isn't a missionary religion. It doesn't stick to expand itself. That's true. That is true. I never see Jewish people out here on the corners preaching some shit. They keep it family. They keep a tradition, and it's very appealing how knit they are, how close knit they are as a family, and how they kept that tradition going for all these years. It's very it's very they're successful as motherfuckers, man. I don't see them out here committing a bunch of crime and shit, where they have to hide the crime. They do have a scam for food stamps in New York City that was exposed, so there's that. But and then they get away with a bunch of shit. During COVID, they were getting away with celebrating their Passover out in the open. It was a little hypocritical, but other than that, those things, they don't fuck with nobody, man. They don't mess around with people like that. They keep to themselves, and they're very private about their beliefs. They keep it to their family, keep it to their sons. They try to carry it on through their seed. They have a lot of children. That's how they grow. It's just multiplying, right? They definitely do that, but they don't go out here preaching and trying to grow by deceptive recruiting and all that stuff, like I be seeing Hebrew Israelites and Muslims and even Christians do. They have their own license plates. Whoa. Y'all need security. Ghost cops. That's how you crash. Riots. I mean, listen, they're definitely bombing the hell out of Palestine. Well, I think they stopped most of that, but shit, them motherfuckers are crazy over there. They want them dead. Palestinians hate Jews and vice versa. So it's an ongoing war, and it seems like the Jews are kicking ass with the help of America. I don't want my tax dollars going over there. I'll tell you that much. But it's happening. Another thing I don't really like, not that I'm against, the protection of a Jewish community, but I don't really want my tax dollars to go towards that. What do you think about Myron Gaines always criticizing Jewish people? He used to be a Muslim. I don't know how I feel about him. I guess I haven't watched him enough. I like his shit on feminism and women propaganda type stuff. I fuck with him on certain things, on masculinity, and certain things that values that he promotes that he got from Kevin Gates. He's one of Kevin Gates' disciples for sure. It shows. But him getting into that Jewish war, a Jewish beef, he's right there with Candace Parker and that woman propaganda dude that's rose to so much fame right now. And Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was named the biggest Jew hater, I think, by the Jewish Times, the Israel Times or something. I understand why they feel the way they feel, but then it comes with a lot of conspiracy theories that I'm very hesitant to just follow any, just believe in any conspiracy theory. But it is interesting what they say, and I'm willing, I got my ears open for that. But to me, it doesn't pique my interest as much. I do follow some Jewish people that support Israel, and they go out there and try to defend, all the anti-Semitism that's out there, because there's a lot. I don't want to partake in none of that shit, because it's like, I feel like it's everywhere. I feel like everybody hates Jewish people. It's crazy. There's a lot of hatred against Jewish people. And I don't believe it's coming from I don't know. I feels like it's coming just from a hateful place. And there's a lot of conspiracies involved with it. Conspiracy theories. You heard it. Man, that whole Israel committing a genocide, right? It's like while at the same time, while I understand how they've been constantly under attack by Palestinians and Saudi Arabia and Iran, they are hated in the Middle East. They don't want them there, and it's like this is the only home right now for the Jewish people. They've always been on the run, and I think it's scary, man, when people start to demonize a whole group of people. And that's exactly what's happening against Jewish people, and then it's also happening against Palestinians, even though I can understand why they're aggressive towards Palestinians because Palestinians don't want them to exist. There's like 80% of Palestinians are like against the Jewish state. I think even more than that in Palestine. A lot of them don't want to admit that they're okay. You know, like, oh yeah, let them live, because there's so many people around influencing them to just hate Jewish people because they claim that's their enemies. So I think it could be labeled a genocide, man. The only thing is that sometimes genocides are meant to wipe a whole group of people out, and I don't think that that's their end game. But they keep saying that they're trying to attack certain people that are in certain areas, and they do that just with no regard of human life. So that could be very problematic, and I can't stand for that, man. I can't stand for how much they're doing, like how much damage they're doing. It's like it all falls under like some protected war, rules. So that way it's not considered a genocide. Now what's happening in the Sudan, that's definitely a genocide. There's people being targeted because of their belief and because of a certain race. So I don't think that Palestinians are being targeted because of their race or their ethnicity, rather. So it's a fucking complex subject, right? Like I'm not even, man, I don't even know where to stand on that shit sometimes when I'm asked these questions about the Jews versus the Palestinian. I don't want to be on neither one of their side, but I do definitely think that Jewish people are more tolerant, and the Palestinians are the ones that are actually more intolerant. They think Palestine historically and culturally belongs to them. Yeah, man, claiming all that shit. The thing is that Jewish people allowed them to run their own state, pretty much, and then it turned into a fucking crazy Islamic, anti-Jew state run by crazy ass fucking cult leaders, pretty much. So it's like now they got to step in. But they allow Palestinians to come to Israel and practice, in their mosques. They're very tolerant. I don't see the same tolerance in Palestine. So that's why I'm like, do y'all see, like, it's like people don't really see what's happening. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about all that shit. I just don't want my money to go towards that shit. Because I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I told you how I feel just now. So there it is. So that's why I'm like, I'm torn. I don't want us to be trying to help them out. Well, we got our all types of issues going on over here. So we got to focus more on America, American soil and shit. Like protect our people. Helping out all these other countries is going to get us into problems that we don't need to be getting into. Trying to be allies, is one of our only allies in the Middle East, in that area. So it's in America's interest to keep a good relationship with Israel. I think that's all that is all politics. There used to be a two-state solution, I believe. The Jewish government treats Israelites worse than ICE raid over there. I don't think they treat so bad. They gave them enough time to become citizens. Some people are getting kicked out. If you talking about black Hebrew Israelites that came over there to Dimona, they were only on like a visa that temporarily allowed them to stay there, and I think they had the opportunity to become citizens, but they wanted to stay separate. They don't want to pay taxes, and why would you want to support that? That's like what America does well, what America wants to do, some liberals and Democrats want to do, where they want to just pay people's way that don't even contribute to this country, and it becomes more of a burden than a contribution. Even though immigrants do contribute by working, taxes and all of that, they do make up a good chunk of our SNAP benefits. They take a lot of SNAP benefits. Shit, even Puerto Rico. We help Puerto Rico. Good conversations, y'all. That's true. The money comes back to the United States, the weapons and all of that. It's like, and Israel has a good military, man. They got a strong IDF. The whole military is on point. the Iron Globe, or the Iron Dome. They got some technology that's out of this world, man. That nanotechnology that they're using is crazy. Yeah, but there's so much hate against them that they could cry racism or anti-Semitism over anything, and they get believed. I've seen situations where, it has nothing to do with. At least there's no evidence that the attack on a Jewish person in Brooklyn or whatever in New York City had anything to do with their identity or their ethnicity. And sometimes people are charged with no evidence that it's race related, so they get charged with hate crimes. And it's like, are we supposed to have evidence of that? I don't see black people getting charged for hate crimes just for attacking a white person. Sometimes they'll even say something about the victim being white while they're doing the attack, and they still won't charge them with a hate crime. I've seen that shit happen. So it's weird how shit happens, the protection that people have just because they're a victim class. So I don't know. All right, I'm done with that. I'm done smoking that. Let me know how y'all doing out there. Y'all got anything else to say before I close out? Say it now, forever hold your peace. I'm about to close this out. It's 11:38 right now, Eastern time. Good conversations, man. Good comments. Nothing too disrespectful. It was a great live. Hit that like button. I'm gonna say it one last time before I close this out. Appreciate y'all coming through. I'm out of here, man. Make sure y'all subscribe. I'll be back on a live stream maybe around Christmas Eve, so we could check out so y'all could see like how downtown Orlando is lit up, what they did with all the lights. Maybe I'll show y'all the big Christmas tree in Lake Eola Park in downtown Orlando on the next live stream. I'll keep posting videos, so look out for that. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Ramadan or whatever, all that good stuff. Kwanzaa. Ramadan was a while ago, my bad. Yeah, man. I appreciate y'all coming through. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. All right. I'm going to call it. Y'all have a good night. Peace out. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for the healthy conversations. I learned some shit. And I'm going to go look up some of the things that y'all was saying when I come back and check the live stream. Whenever that is. But, yeah, have a good night. Peace out. Love and peace. All right. Peace.